Hi everyone, welcome to BurgBoys. I'm Max.
I'm Terrence.
And this is your weekly dive into the most interesting news with our reaction and take on what's happening.
So Max,
okay, you say first.
no, let you start first. Today we are uncoordinated.
I just want to know where's your barber from. Oh, it looks so clean this morning. Wow, man, a new man.
Cut my hair during lunch. Actually, I tried, and today I tried Genie.
Genie?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah.
How much is the barber?
45. Okay lah.
Wow, for
his haircut $60 by the way.
No, bro. My 160 is year end. I only do one time.
Yeah, I mean, you look a bit down today.
Why?
Is it how's your relationship going?
My relationship is going well, thank you. No, I mean, I'm just there are some bumps in the road.
Some bumps in the road.
Yeah, it is primarily from me.
Yeah, recently I think you learned that actually dating a girl in the same social circle actually is more interesting, right? Okay, let's move on from that.
Okay, this one let's talk about something else.
Okay.
So what do you have prepared for today? Yeah?
So there was an article on cost of living. Basically, they were saying that condo and car ownership is getting harder for the upper middle class.
Okay.
And how they define the upper middle class is the 80th percentile of households in Singapore. So the 80th percentile of households in Singapore, they make roughly about $260,000 a year.
Wow.
It's about $21,000 to $22,000 a year lah. So I mean, that's annualized. You have your bonuses, all that included as well. Yep. Essentially, they are suggesting that incomes have probably risen 30% in the last 10 years. But all these housing prices, cars have gone up 50-60% in the last 10 years. Yep. Which suggests that, of course, you're less well off, right? I mean, you put the two numbers side by side. So I guess maybe first things first, right? What do you think about reading something like that, right? Do you feel disheartened? Do you feel like things are spiraling out of control? Do you feel like things are less accessible, right? No matter how hard you work, it feels like goalposts is always shifting.
Correct. I think that's a very good way to put it. And I guess for my age group, right, the way I think about it is, how can I not feel paralyzed by these movements, this kind of stuff, right? I guess I always feel like even though I'm growing maybe perhaps career-wise and perhaps I'm growing in terms of my corporate life, but then perhaps my other aspirations, I can't financially reach them. That's how I feel for my age group at least, right? And I don't know how the future is going to look for me as well. I think that's something quite...
Actually, I think this is broader than your age group as well, because you think about it, right? 80th percentile making the kind of money includes probably a lot of like middle-class workers as well. Right? Throughout all spectrums as well. And to be fair, also you are probably not at the timing whereby you're really considering to settle down by house, because usually people buy cars so that when they have kids or that as well, right? Yeah. So it's also probably something that's also beyond your age group as well.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think it feels a bit disheartening. Goalposts is always shifting, because these are all like, to be fair, when you're 80th percentile, I assume that you probably had some success in your career as well. Correct. So of course, aspirationally, you would like to own certain things or make your life slightly more comfortable.
Exactly.
But if these kind of things, the goalposts keep moving, right? Technically, it can feel very disheartening. Yeah.
And I guess also that brings the question for me, right? I guess for me, the way I look at it, or the way I kind of trying to move around this, right, is kind of shifting my mental model a bit, right? So I guess for me, I mean, when I was young or much younger, right, I mean, housing, cars is like, it's the sign that you're adulting, right, or adulthood, right, or stepping into that, right? I guess moving forward into this new age where there's so much of this inflation, perhaps, right? The question now is, it's up to us to redefine what that means, right? I mean, how important is ownership of a car? How important is ownership of a house? I guess there's so much trend of car sharing, tribe car, etc. And I know a few of my peers, they are actively renting, right? As a group, 4 people stay in one apartment, they share the rent. They leave more disposable income to do like traveling, blah blah blah. So I think the way of people how people look at this ownership of these assets have dynamically changed quite a bit. That's how I see it, and maybe that's the way to move forward. But I'm not too sure also.
No, I think I for sure agree, right? To be fair, I think one has to give way, right? Let's say today, if there's a set amount of resources, you cannot afford something. Of course, you go for the next best option.
Correct.
So of course, if condo ownership is suddenly not accessible, that will also mean that you have to go to the HDB option unless you don't have a roof over your head.
Exactly.
But I think perhaps also is the perception around some of this as well. I think maybe it's
like how essential is it, right, to you?
I mean, it's clearly not essential, but you're talking about 80th percentile people. We're not talking about like the these are not talking about baseline, having a roof over your head, right? These are people, again, it goes back to the context again. These are people who are aspiring for something better, and now it feels like it's more out of reach.
I agree.
I think, to be honest, I think there's an element also that, because our society is getting more affluent, we're also importing a lot more wealthy people in. This is going to be an ongoing challenge.
Correct.
But I also think that perhaps as an aspiration point also, perhaps, like you said, like maybe there's also adjusting some personal expectations as well. And also,
Yeah, but when you mentioned about the expectations, right? So is there a sense that is a suggestion or the direction should be that we lower the expectation, or how should we look at it moving forward?
Lower expectations is always a tough word, right? Because
Yeah,
it feels
super
like
tough.
you're compromising on what you actually want.
100%.
I don't think you should do that. But at the same time, I guess it's reframing your expectations. Thinking about does this really bring you that kind of happiness that you want? I guess.
Yeah, okay, maybe like this, right? Hypothetical, right? Let's say, initially my plan was by 35, I have X house, Y car, right? We're dragging out the time frame, I reframe. I say, let me give myself another 5 years. What do you think that will help?
I think it's when you reframe, it's more like does this house, what value does this house, what happiness does this house bring
Exactly.
me? It's more like more going backwards and kind of thinking, does this going to bring me happiness? Like, and then you align it with your partner, right?
That's so important.
Whether both of you are willing to be a slave to your mortgage as well. Correct. Because to be honest, even if today you have a high income, but a mortgage for 30 years,
Yeah.
Right, so it also means that you need to be on a treadmill for 30 years. Correct. So if you buy something that's really expensive and it's sort of a stretch for you at the moment, you're also betting that firstly, one, your income is always going to increase.
Correct.
And secondly, you're going to have a good career for the next 30 years.
Which you never know now.
Correct.
It's even more unpredictable now than before, right?
But it's just quite interesting also when we talk about household income. Maybe let's quite pivot a bit.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Like, of course, household income also implies that for most people, it's 2% making money, right?
Correct.
So if it's so hard for 2%, do you think people are now more selective? Like sometimes, both men and women, are they more selective in looking for a partner? And maybe you can share a bit about yourself, right? Because recently, right, you also have some experience whereby you're probably meeting people who are more within your social circle. And I guess you quite enjoy those company.
I think primarily, if I'm being very blunt, right, I think primarily for me, I am super down to date someone that earns more than me, right? To me, it's like, there's a Chinese saying where you fight or you work 10 years less, 少奋斗10年. And I think for me, that's really I don't know, for me, that's really the way I kind of see things right now. I have no qualms, and to be honest, if the person, obviously if we emotionally bond very well and then the person is making more money, I think that's a key criteria that I'll go for.
But what if the person is making a lot less? You have to carry basically the household. So household is 2%, right? So of course, if let's say today you might be making well as a percentile, as a individual, as an individual employee. But if the other person is basically making close to zero or maybe not even making much, then you have to carry the relationship as well. So what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on that?
I think for me also, this is where what you mentioned earlier comes into play, right? In terms of reframing your expectations. So I think, maybe I'm a bit naive in that sense where like I do hope that love triumphs all, right? So even let's say you get together with this person, then it's a discussion time, right? To see, okay, what can I compromise on? What can I reframe on? And I think this is a very important discussion to have.
I guess that's why you like bartenders.
That's not true. That's not true.
Okay, so I guess it's not really, but so for you, the priority is not really how much a person can bring. Like it's more like, for you, it's more of that connection. So in fact, the person was probably right now, you cannot see the economic potential. You are still willing to
give it a shot.
Yeah, you're not bothered by it. And you feel like you're willing to carry the relationship and willing to compromise on whatever aspiration that you want as a household.
Whatever materialistic expectations, I'm confirmed willing to compromise. For sure. I think that's something that I right now at my current stage, as of today, I'm okay, but I don't know how I feel 2 years down the line, 4 years down the line, right? But Karen, I'm just curious. Then with this question in mind, do you feel like, because of this increasing expectations, moving goalposts, then do you think relationships in that sense have also become more commercialized? Like people date because of the ability to transcend certain social levels, social economic levels. Then is.
I think it's always been there since his dawn of time, don't you think?
Yeah.
Right. Clear. I mean, you see that in a lot of societies also, right? Correct. Even those that matchmake, they tend to matchmake within the same social class, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is also a lot of I guess a lot of people when they find a partner, they also have certain what they call expectations. But I think sometimes, to be honest, I also feel like there's a subconscious element to some of these things as well. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Sometimes when you meet someone, there's also signals, right? So say for example, you clearly enjoy dates more if let's say they came from the same social circle, same level. You feel like you can vibe more.
Yes.
This almost requires the person to go through a certain education, certain world exposure.
Yeah.
And that comes with also a certain level of socioeconomic capacity as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
And what do you think about that?
No, that's a good point. I think I guess in a sense, similar upbringing, right, and all this kind of stuff, they kind of mold your worldviews, right?
Correct.
And then naturally, you just find yourself having closer or more aligned worldviews with people that have the same background as you.
Because you like traveling, you like watching film.
Yeah.
All this requires money, right?
Correct. These aren't things that are these are all leisure items, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so absolutely true.
So
what does this imply for me? Should I rethink my?
No, I don't think you're rethinking. I think you've been rethinking a lot lately. You want to share what are your top 3 criteria
for dating?
Yeah.
I always feel bottom line is I'm a lover boy, right? So I think don't laugh right now. Yeah, it's true. I think for me, so for me, I realized that I get bored a bit easily. By the way, this is not a psychotherapy session, but I do get bored a bit easily, right? Maybe that's a fault of mine, but I do think that kind of emotional bandwidth is very important.
Okay, maybe you describe a situation of how you went from excited to bored. So what transpired? What's the emotional thought? Because it's quite interesting, right? Like you say you get bored easily, right? Maybe we double click to understand a bit more.
Well, how do we go from rising housing prices to psychoanalysis of Max's relationship life?
I mean, this is what the audience want to
hear. I guess in short, right? Maybe we can do a deeper dive on that video, right? But I guess in short, that transition happens because I feel that I don't really, not say particularly don't see a future with you, but I don't see any
spark.
Before the spark, I don't see any commonalities, right? Not in terms of activities, but in terms of perhaps behavior, spirit, principles that allows me to sustain that spark, right? Maybe after knowing someone for a while, you just don't see that alignment anymore.
I see.
Right. And maybe the counter argument to this, right, being my own worst critic, is that perhaps you need to know the person a bit longer. But I feel also as humans, once you have been through quite a few relationships, you naturally have archetypes of certain people. You kind of roughly know how they are, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of put them in certain archetypes. You roughly know what they're gonna give, right? Obviously, there's surprises which hopefully are good, but roughly you kind of know where this will go, So that's for me, my mental model, my biases perhaps.
Yeah.
That have molded in this sense.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, I respect you for being very upfront,
I'm a guy
that's private dealings as well.
I'm an action-oriented man. I don't really dally around the bush.
Okay, so anyway, going back to this article,
yes.
You asked whether it becomes more commercialized. I think this is just something that has always been there. But I also think it really depends on an individual. I don't see it becoming a trend, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
I think people who tend towards someone finding a partner who obviously is more affluent, they are going to tend towards that. Right? I don't think that. I mean, that since when you're in school. I mean, it's always been there.
True.
So I personally don't see that, but clearly, it feels like if you want to aspire to the nicer things, you clearly need to make sure that your household income hits a certain
level, right? It's just the way it is, really.
I mean, if you really want to gamify the situation and be pragmatic, then clearly you need to find a partner that's also, of course, economically strong, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, great point. Because I think, recently I saw on social media, right, there was this account that posted the different country clubs in Singapore. And they say, what kind of men you can find there. And then all the girls are commenting, is it true? And I mean, this plays into the point you were mentioning, right? It's always been there, but just how much more proliferated will it get? I don't know.
I mean, it really depends on situations, right? Of course, things get more unfollowable, and only a select few has. And basically, the select few will be the most desirable.
100%. That's the way life works. Don't hate the player, hate the game, right?
Okay, I think it's just an interesting observation. I think it's just an interesting number. But I think that's all for
correct. This is all for this podcast, right? So, guys, thank you once again for watching. Like and subscribe. Leave comments below. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.